Our storyteller today is Cindy Gold. Cindy teaches acting at Northwestern and is an actress herself who has worked at the Goodman and Chicago Shakespeare and on TV in Empire and Chicago Fire. Cindy loves animals and has a cat named Bing Crosby. Let's go find out what animal Cindy's going to tell us a story about today.
Hi, I'm Cindy, and I'm going to be reading to you The Velveteen Rabbit by Margery Williams, one of my favorite books. I love rabbits. I actually have a lot of rabbits. This one is from Mississippi, made out of the red clay of Mississippi. And this one, my favorite, my dad painted for me after he retired. He made a fanciful one for me. And this one I love. This is a little metal one. Can you see him? I take him with me whenever I travel. I call him Travel Rabbit. Okay. There once was a Velveteen Rabbit, and in the beginning he was really splendid. He was fat and bunchy, as a rabbit should be. His coat was spotted brown and white. He had real thread whiskers, and his ears were lined with pink sateen. Oh, here's another one. He's got pink ears too. Wait a minute. That is not a rabbit. That's a mouse. My sister made him for me when we were little. His name is Gussie Floyd. Go away, Gussie. This isn't about mice. This is about rabbits. Go. Sorry about that. On Christmas morning, he sat wedged in the top of the boy's stocking with a sprig of holly between his paws, and the effect was charming. For a long time, the little rabbit lived in the toy cupboard or on the nursery floor, and no one thought very much about him. He was naturally shy, and being only made of velveteen, some of the more expensive toys snubbed him. Between the other toys, the poor little rabbit was made to feel himself very insignificant and commonplace, and the only person who was kind to him at all was the skin horse. The skin horse had lived longer in the nursery than any of the others. He was so old that his brown coat was bald in patches and showed the seams underneath, and most of the hairs in his tail had been pulled out to string bead necklaces. He was wise, for he had seen a long succession of mechanical toys arrive to boast and swagger, and by break their mainsprings and pass away, and he knew that those were only toys and they would never turn into anything else. For nursery magic, it's very strange and wonderful, and only those playthings that are old and wise experienced it, like the skin horse. What is real? Asked the rabbit one day. Does it mean having things that buzz inside you and a stick-out handle? Real isn't how you are made, said the skin horse. It's a thing that happens to you when a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really loves you. Then you become real. Does it hurt? Asked the rabbit. Sometimes, said the skin horse, for he was always truthful. When you are real, you don't mind being hurt. Does it happen all at once, like being wound up, or bit by bit? It doesn't happen all at once, said the skin horse. You become. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't often happen to people who break easily, or who have sharp edges, or have to be carefully taught. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off and your eyes drop out and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. Like me. But those things don't matter at all because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except to people who don't understand. I suppose you are real, said the rabbit, and then he wished he had not said it because he thought the skin horse might be sensitive. But the skin horse only smiled. The boy's uncle made me real, That was a great many years ago, but once you are real, you can't become unreal again. It lasts for always. The rabbit sighed. He thought it would be a long time before this magic called real happened to him. He longed to become real, to know what it felt like, and yet the idea of growing shabby and losing his eyes and whiskers felt rather sad. He wished he could become it without these uncomfortable things happening to him. One evening, when the boy was going to bed, he couldn't find the china dog that always slept with him. His Nana was in a hurry, and it was much too much trouble to hunt for china dogs at bedtime, so she simply looked about her, and seeing the toy cupboard door stood open, she made a swoop. "Here, take your old bunny. He'll do to sleep with you." And she dragged the rabbit out by one ear and put him into the boy's arms. And that night, and for many nights after, the Velveteen Rabbit slept in the boy's bed. At first he found it rather uncomfortable, for the boy hugged him very tight, and sometimes he rolled over on him, and sometimes he pushed him so far under the pillow that the rabbit could scarcely breathe. But very soon he grew to like it, for the boy used to talk to him and make nice tunnels for him under the bedclothes, he said, like the burrows that real rabbits lived in. And so time went on, and the little rabbit was very happy, so happy that he never noticed how his beautiful velveteen fur was getting shabbier and shabbier, and his tail was becoming unsewn, and all the pink rubbed off his nose where the boy had kissed him. Spring came, and they had long days in the garden playing together. And then one day, at night, the boy sat up in bed and stretched out his arms and said, "Give me my bunny! He's not a toy, he's real!" When the rabbit heard that, he was happy, for he knew that the skin horse had been right. The nursery magic had happened to him. He was a toy no longer. He was real. The boy himself had said it. That was a wonderful summer. Near the house where they lived was a wood, and in the long June evenings the boy liked to go there after tea to play. He took the Velveteen Rabbit with him and wandered off to pick flowers. He sometimes left the rabbit by himself, and one evening when the rabbit was lying there alone, just waiting and watching the ants that ran to and fro between his velvet paws, he saw two strange beings creep out of the tall bracken near him. They were rabbits, like himself, but quite furry and brand new. They must have been very well made, for their seams didn't show at all. They stared at him, and the little rabbit stared back, and all the time their noses twitched. "Why don't you get up and play with us?" one of them asked. "Well, I don't feel like it," said the rabbit, for he didn't want to explain that he had no clockwork. "I don't believe you can," he said. "I can," said the little rabbit. "I can jump higher than anything." He meant when the boy threw him, but of course he didn't want to say so. "He doesn't smell right," one exclaimed. "He isn't a rabbit at all. He isn't real." "I am real," said the little rabbit. "I am real. The boy said so." And he just nearly started to cry. Just then there was the sound of footsteps, and the boy ran past near them, and with a stamp of feet and a flash of white tails, the two strange rabbits disappeared. "Oh dear," thought the rabbit. "Why did they run away like that? Why couldn't they stop and talk to me?" Presently the little boy came and carried him home. Weeks passed, and the little rabbit grew very old and very shabby, but the boy loved him just as much. He loved him so hard that he loved all his whiskers off, and the pink lining in his ears turned gray, and his brown spots faded. He even began to lose his shape, and he scarcely looked like a rabbit at all, except to the boy. To him he was always beautiful, and that was all the little rabbit cared about. And then, one day, the boy was ill. His face grew flushed, and he talked in his sleep, and his little body was so hot that it burned the rabbit when he held him close. Strange people came and went in the nursery, and a light burned all night, and through it all the little Velveteen Rabbit just lay there, hidden from sight under the bedclothes, and he never stirred, for he was afraid that if they found him some night, they might take him away, and he knew that the boy needed him. Presently, the fever turned, and the boy got better. He was able to sit up in bed and look at picture book, and all the while the little rabbit cuddled up close by his side. And then one day they let the little boy get up and dress. The boy was going to the seaside tomorrow. Everything was arranged. Hurrah, thought the little rabbit. Tomorrow we shall go to the seaside.
What about this old bunny? Said the doctor. It's a mass of germs. Burn it at once. Get him a new one. He mustn't have that anymore.
And so the little rabbit was put into a sack with the old picture books and a lot of rubbish and carried out to the end of the garden. And that night the boy slept in a different bedroom, and he had a new bunny to sleep with him. And while the little boy was asleep, dreaming of the seaside, the little old rabbit lay among the old picture books in the corner of the garbage area, and he felt very, very lonely. He thought of the skin horse, so wise and gentle, and all that he had told him. Of what use was it to be loved and lose one's beauty and become real if it all ended like this? And a tear, a real tear, trickled down his shabby velvet nose and fell to the ground. And then a strange thing happened, for where the tear had fallen, a flower grew out of the ground, a mysterious flower, not at all like any that grew in the garden. It had slender green leaves, the color of emeralds, and in the center of the leaves, a blossom like a golden cup. And presently the blossom opened, and out of there stepped a fairy. I am the nursery magic fairy, she said. I take care of all the playthings that the children have loved. When they are old and worn and the children don't need them anymore, I come and take them away with me and turn them into real. Wasn't I real before? Said the little rabbit. You were real to the boy because he loved you. Now you shall be real to everyone. And she held the little rabbit close in her arms and flew with him into the wood, and she kissed the little rabbit again and again and put him down on the grass where all the other little real rabbits were playing. He was a real rabbit at last, at home with the other real rabbits. The end. I hope you enjoyed it.